Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Oklahoma City Board of Adjustment for February 16, 2017. If you have a cell phone with you, would you please turn it on silent so that it doesn't disturb us during the meeting? The first order of business is to receive the minutes of the January 19th meeting.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to receive the minutes of the January 19th meeting of the Board of Adjustment. Would you cast your votes, please? And they are received. We have a request for continuance on item number 17. There are some apparent issues that remain to be resolved on this. Do I still need a motion? I guess I do, don't I?
I'll make a motion to continue case number 14329 to the March, was it 17th? March 16th meeting.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to receive item number 7, case number 14329, to the March 16th meeting of the Board of Adjustment. Would you cast your votes, please? And it is continued. Do I have any requests for continuance by the public? Is there anybody here today on an item that they would like to have continued? No? Then we'll begin.
Item number 1, case number 14323, request of Scott Olson for a variance to the location and maximum square footage for an accessory building in the RA Single Family Rural 1 Acre Residential District located at 19616 Southeast 60th Street.
Is the applicant present? Would you please come forward, please? Give us your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon. My name is Scott Olson. I live at 19616 Southeast 60th Street in Neuwalla, Oklahoma City, I guess. I'm trying to get a variance to put up a building, a storage building that's bigger than the ordinance allows me to have. There's an existing building on the property already. The problem I have is there's a pipeline that goes catty-corner across my property, as the exhibit shows there. With that and the lateral lines, I can't make that existing building big enough or modify it to make it work for a building that's big enough to work for what I need. And then also on top of that, you know, the reason I'm wanting to put up a building the size that I am is because not for sure when the ordinance was written, but 2.5% on my property allows me, on a 2 acres, allows me to have 2,184 square foot, which isn't a very big storage shed for the toys that we have nowadays for travel trailers that are bigger and boats and cars. So I guess the answers I need to be able to answer are the hardships that I have on this particular piece of property is the pipeline restricts me from adding on to my existing building and making it work for me. Also, we've had some break-ins in the past in the area. I'd like to get stuff under lock and key, if at all possible. And the distance we are from the police station where we're out there, actually up 2 miles from the county line. And then also, of course, the particular piece of property involved, the conditions is the pipeline and then the distance from a police station for security purposes out there. I've talked to my neighbors, I've talked to almost every one of them. Nobody has an issue with it that's voiced it to me anyway. I want to make an attractive building. I'm going to put a wainscoting on it. I want to make it to where trailers go inside it. Stuff goes inside it to where I clean up the neighborhood and keep the neighborhood clean. We have a nice neighborhood and I want to keep it that way. Unfortunately, that makes me have a bigger shed than what's allowed by the ordinance. And the size of the shed would be the size that I would need to make this happen.
Have you given any thought at all to removing the shed that's there now?
I've considered that. If that's what it would take to get this variance, I would be willing to tear down that one there. It'd be a shame because it's a decent little building that blends into the neighborhood. but unfortunately, it's an oversized lawnmower shop that doesn't work for storing what I need to store. So, if I had to, yes, I would be willing to tear it down. It'd be a shame, though.
What's the square footage of the existing house?
The existing house, 1,800 and change, I think.
So the storage building that you're wanting to construct is actually larger than the house on the property.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you bring us any evidence about the thefts in the neighborhood? Have any documentary evidence you want to give us?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Is there anybody in the audience who wishes to be heard on this matter today? I assume that we've received no written objections. Members of the board?
I can't get there on this one. The challenge that I think that you have is the amount of space that you're asking for in this building and the amount that it would exceed the code. I looked at an aerial, I didn't drive it, I looked at an aerial, measured some of the buildings, roof lines. There's nothing anywhere close to that size in this neighborhood. I think the risk that we run by granting a variance in an instance like this for such a large building is that whether it's 2 years from now or 20 years from now, the guy who buys it from you is going to start trying to run a business out of there. That's one of the reasons there's zoning ordinances, to protect against that, but that's one of the reasons why the limitations are there on the buildings too, is to prevent anything like that from happening. And I can't see that you have a 1,000 square foot building now and you're going to add a 3,200 square foot building. I mean, this is what industrial property is for, storage facilities are for. That's their intention, is to alleviate your ability to have that on the property. So it's a really hard, and I understand why you want it, because it's a convenience issue, but I can't get there at 3,200 square feet.
Okay, there is a shed that's a 40 by 60, again, not quite that as big as the one I'm wanting. There's a 40 by 60 that actually, unless they have a variance, busts that code back on 62nd Street, back behind me. You're right, all the other ones that I measured on the Google Earth didn't exceed it. Although even the shed, my neighbor right next door, what I'm proposing to build is only 10 foot wider and 20 foot longer. So when you talk about that in distances, that's not very much. I know it adds up in square footage, but it's really not that much bigger than the shed that's right next to us. Again, I'd be willing to tear down that other shed if I could get the variance to get this. Then I wouldn't be busting it by as much as what I am. If that's a consideration for you.
Even at that, though, you're talking about exceeding what would be allowed by a good third, so.
Yes, ma'am. And if you look at the ordinances as well, I mean, another hardship, I didn't want to drive this one home, but to have this size of a property is a hardship in the city of Oklahoma City with this ordinance. If I have a half-acre lot, I can have up to 1,000 square foot of shed. So on the same amount of land as I have, 2 acres, if I had half-acre lots, I could have 4,000 square foot of accessory buildings. Whereas with a half-acre lot to a 3-acre lot, you can have 2.5%. Well, on a 2-acre lot, that's 2,184 square foot. If I had a 3-acre lot and you did a 3-acre lot and above, you can have 5% of your property in accessory building. If you did that math on my same 2 acres, it'd be 4,300 square foot, and I wouldn't even be in front of you today. I mean, if I was in town, in the city proper, I would understand this completely. But where we're way out there, off the beaten path, and I understand cities grow, and it may finally get out there. However, I'm way out there. I'm a half a mile from the edge of the city limits now. The only time we see city services, honestly, are when we get our trash service. So we're just way out there.
Well, I have to say, I'm not persuaded by those arguments. I think this is just too big, but.
Even if I were able to tear down that
I'm
building.
surprised none of the neighbors
I am too.
are here. I mean,
I am too.
I think that's kind of shocking to me.
2 neighbors that want to build the same size shed.
Well,
I
and,
mean,
and that's, and you know what, that's, you're kind of advancing our argument for us, because to your point, you have one guy will come in and ask for 2,184 feet, and the next guy's going to come in and ask for 2,188 feet, and the next thing you know, we got people asking for variances in every one of these lots for 3,000, 4,000-foot buildings. I mean, that's part of the concern of allowing the first one in when it's so grossly away from what exists in the neighborhood now. And I think, you know, I think what you're confusing in the elements of a variance is that you're right. The gas line would create what would be a peculiar aspect to your property. It's not a hardship. The ordinance on its face is not a hardship. The ordinance is doing exactly what it was supposed to do here. But it's the size that you're asking for. Again, I didn't see the 2,400 square foot shed you just described, the 60 by 40, but I saw some 1,500, 1,600, 1,200. I mean, that's pretty consistent. So this is just way over that, and I just can't support it. The other issue, though, is that there's a second variance being requested for basically the building protruding from the rear wall of the structure, which I have no problem with.
and what that is I'm just trying to,
Yeah.
where I'm here today trying to comply with you guys, I'm trying to get that one in compliance.
Yeah.
I mean, the reality is that was built before the back porch was added on, or closed in, so I think it was in compliance at once upon a time. I also understand that it wasn't built with a permit way back when, so I'm trying to get up to date, trying to play nice, and I don't see, if we, I think placement of where the property is makes a huge difference. If we were in downtown proper, if we were closer to town, if we were out here, it would make a huge difference. But where I'm out there and I have a wide open lot of yard that I mow, I don't see where it's as big of a concern. I mean, you have a neighborhood that is very nice, and for the most part, I want to keep it that way. And by building a shop that I can put stuff inside, would keep it that way.
Yeah.
So
Please bear in mind, we don't draft the ordinances.
I understand,
We're
and
just
I don't
asked
know
to-
how old this one is, but I'll bring that up for consideration for future, too. I mean, 2.5% is not very big for today's toys. I mean, you have a 40-foot travel trailer, and it's hard to stuff into a 18-foot, 100-square-foot shed.
Okay, I think we know where we are. Do you have a motion?
I will make a motion to approve the variance application as it relates to the request for the setback exception, but make a motion to deny the request as it relates to the additional accessory building.
Do I need separate motions? Let's do it separately then.
I'll make a motion to approve the variance as it relates to the setback of the existing accessory building.
And do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the variance with respect to the location of the existing accessory building forward of the back building line, case number 14323. Would you cast your votes, please? That is approved.
Make a motion to deny the variance application as it relates to the additional accessory building.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second to deny the variance, case number 14323, as it relates to the construction of an additional accessory building. Would you cast your votes, please? And it is denied.
I respectfully disagree, but thank you for your time.
Item number 2, case number 14324, request of Berger Engineering for a variance to permit parking and maneuvering on the right-of-way and a sign located within the right-of-way and located in the site triangle in the C3 Community Commercial District located at 4805 North May Avenue.
Is the applicant present? Would you give us your name and address for the record, please?
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon. My name is Brian Berger. I'm with Berger Engineering, 17103 Preston Road, Dallas, Texas. The reason we're before you today is to request, I guess, I don't know if it's one variance or two, We are looking at redeveloping a portion of Mayfair Village Shopping Center between Northwest 47th and 48th Streets. Currently today, out there, if you've been in that area, all the retail utilizes the right-of-way for both North May Avenue and West Mayfair Drive for parking and maneuvering. So what we're trying to do with this redevelopment is to utilize that same area that's being utilized today for our development in order to provide the necessary parking for the development of the 19,000 square foot Aldi Food Market. And then with this request, we're also requesting a variance in order to place the sign out in the North Mayfair Avenue right-of-way. The reason for that is if we tried to erect a sign within our property, we would be approximately 100 feet back from the North Mayfair Avenue, North May Avenue curb line. So we would like to move that sign closer to North May Avenue in order for better visibility. And I'd be more than happy to answer any questions or address any concerns that you may have.
Well, I had a couple. I don't see anything in here with respect to, what type of a sign we're talking about. It doesn't really indicate to me sort of placement, or at least maybe it's just I can't read it, in terms of whether it would create any kind of sight triangle issues. The sign is a bigger deal to me than the parking and maneuvering, because I think, Mayfair is a fairly well-established commercial entity. It is what it is. And I understand that from staff that even if we grant you this variance, or maybe you're here to get this before you go and get a revocable permit, so you understand that in the event at some point May Avenue actually gets widened further than it is now, it will affect the location of the sign. But
Correct.
Tell me about your sign.
Sure. It'll be a pylon sign, so it will be up off the ground. So the only thing that would impede any sort of visibility would be the actual pylon or pole itself. So based on the exhibit that has been pulled up, we were asked about a little sightline study. So our proposed pylon sign would be kind of in the northeast corner of our parking lot. You can see the little rectangle there. I think it says proposed pylon sign. Basically, if you have a car that is exiting out onto North May Avenue from Northwest 48th Street, if their front bumper is sitting at the curb line in North May Avenue, I projected a line back approximately 15 feet and drew a sight line all the way down. You can see approximately 500 to 600 feet or more to the south before anything impedes any sort of visibility. So our sign is actually set back further than the trees we're going to be planting out along North May Avenue. So the sight line that you see being projected is actually based upon the trunk of the trees that would impede visibility, and even they don't impede any visibility for cars exiting out onto North May Avenue.
You lost me at pole sign, but...
Okay. I mean, I can go back through. If
I don't
okay.
mean I didn't follow you. I mean, you lost my vote at pole sign. I would not approve a pole sign at this location if I had any possible way to not do that, so.
I mean, we're allowed a pole sign by right with the property, correct? Okay. Just want to make sure.
Is there anybody else here who wants to be heard on this matter? Members of the board?
I have a couple questions. So I still don't have something that shows me, unless I'm just not seeing it. Tell me about the right-of-way thing, the maneuver. Where does the right-of-way stop?
This is...
And I'm looking at your drawing that you've got up here.
Can I walk up?
Sure.
Just way back.
If you would mark it. Sure. And then if you would, so that everyone can hear you on the record, if you'll go back and explain it with the drawing.
This is the West Mayfair Drive, and that's the right-of-way line again.
I see.
So we've kind of got a little strip of 20 feet that we actually own in between those two right-of-ways, and then you have the property again. So you have 150 feet of North May Avenue, then a 20-foot strip that we own, then a 30-foot for West Mayfair Drive, and then the rest of our property.
That's the part we need on the record.
Yeah.
Sure. So basically, the way that the Mayfair Village Shopping Center is set up, North Mayfair Avenue has approximately 150 feet of right-of-way. So there's 75 feet on our side. So that's the right, you see there's a right-of-way line there that says south. I think that says 230 feet.
Right.
That is the west right-of-way line of North May Avenue. Then our property owner owns a 20-foot strip. Then there's a 30-foot right-of-way for
And then on your drawing, that's where it's marked north, that 20-foot strip is
That is correct. That would be the east right-of-way line for West Mayfair Drive.
Okay.
Then the city has that 30 feet for West Mayfair Drive, and then we have the remaining 225 feet.
I don't see anything peculiar about this.
Oh, really?
I'm sorry,
And I guess what is peculiar is if you look at the survey, West Mayfair Drive is actually not a road.
Yeah.
It's all
It's in the
just
parking
parking
lot,
lot
yeah.
today.
That's
So
crazy.
everybody north and south of there has been utilizing that for parking and maneuvering since it's been there. I'm not sure how old Mayfair Village is.
Yep.
So we're just trying to be consistent with what's there, rather than coming in and trying to abandon that right away, and then you don't have any consistency. At least if anything were to ever develop, or if the city was going to expand the road, or for some reason actually pave West Mayfair Drive, those options are still there.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. This is clearly, it's clearly peculiar, unique, and yeah, I mean, this, I guess I didn't even realize this existed there.
Parking spots that are currently out there near that burger place or whatever, is that the area, they're already, the right-of-way, the spots are already in the right-of-way, right?
That is correct, yes, ma'am. So if you were out there today, so right now, the site as it sits today, there is zero landscaping on that site. Everything is just asphalt or building. So what we're proposing to do within North May Avenue, the first 8 feet, roughly 8 feet, we're going to do a landscape buffer. And we'll take out the Bradford pear trees that are there, because those are not considered street trees by the city. We'll replace those with real hardwood trees within that landscape buffer, and then we'll place our parking lot kind of within the same area as that's there today. But we'll come back in with landscape islands and trees and the landscape buffer out front.
What is the issue with the variance as it relates to the sign? It's because does it technically fall within a site triangle, JJ? What's that? What is the...
Technically, it falls within the site triangles because the site triangle is back at the corner of the right-of-way. But if you were to project out where the right-of-way would be normally for May Avenue, it would not be in the site triangle.
Okay. And one of the reasons we're asking for the variance on the sign is we could put the sign in that 20-foot strip that we own. Now, that's still over 50 feet. I think that's 50 foot back from the existing curb line in North May Avenue, but the city also has water lines that are in that 20 feet. So we're trying to avoid that pole being within the city's utility area.
You also want your sign on the road.
Yeah, well, as close as we can get it for visibility, absolutely. Now, going back to what I had mentioned before, the sign does not impede visibility at all as it relates to when you're exiting out of 48th, whether you're going north or south. The trees we'll be planting out along in that right-of-way or that buffer strip we're going to create, actually, that's what limits your visibility. Even though we still meet and are providing extremely adequate visibility, they actually limit you more than the pole sign would.
Anybody
Very
else?
strange neighborhood, area, and I've gone for years out there, and you go, and I never even noticed 48th and 47th until you start mapping it out, and people just sort of slide off of 47 and around, and it's been there since the beginning of time, I think.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Yeah. This was unique for me. I've been working in Oklahoma City now for about 10 years, and I'm based out of Dallas, but we've done lots of projects throughout the Oklahoma City area, and I've never seen anything quite like it. It was very different, and so in meeting with staff and coming up with the options to redevelop this area, this was the best option for us and I think for the city, because y'all retain your right-of-way, and we still get to develop it, and if anything ever changes in the future, you've still got it, and you have options.
I have to say, for Strange, this is nothing compared to the alley that ran through the middle of the building until we closed it. Is there anybody else here to be heard on this matter today?
I'll make a motion to approve the application.
Are we going to do them all together?
Oh, I guess we need to do them separate. Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the application as it relates to the permit parking and maneuvering in the right-of-way.
I second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the variance on case number 14324 as it refers to parking and maneuvering in the right-of-way. Would you cast your votes, please? It is approved.
I'll make a motion to approve the variance as it relates to the location of the sign and the side triangle.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second, case number 14324, as it relates to the location of the sign in the right-of-way. Would you cast your votes, please? It is approved.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Wait, one more time. No?
No, that's it.
That was it? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 3, case number 14325, request of David Parker for a variance to the requirement that prohibits access onto an arterial street if access is available onto a local street in the AA Agricultural District located at 15601 South May Avenue.
Would you give us your name and address for the record, please?
My name is David Parker. I reside at 12509 South 13th Place in Jinx, Oklahoma.
Tell us about your application.
So my wife and I are in the process of relocating back to Oklahoma City. We purchased about a year ago 5 acres at 15601 South May. There was an existing structure on the property. We demolished that structure and hired a builder and got a building permit. We're for the most part in the same footprint as the original structure that we demolished. That structure had a driveway that accessed May, and just about everything in this area, everything between 149th and 157th, there's multiple acreages in that part of town. Everything comes out on May. The existing, or the original structure had one driveway that came out on May. In our original building permit application, we showed a circle drive, actually 2 circle drives, but we've only, what we ultimately ended up with is just a circle drive that starts on the north end of the property, comes through the detached garage, the portico, and then comes out on the original driveway that was the main access for the original structure. And then the circle drive in front of the house is actually just a drive that comes around to a widened drive that accesses the shop that we built. So this part of town is, as you may or may not know, is prone to flooding. A lot of the property in that area is in the floodplain. We've kind of got a unique piece of property. It's we're probably 20 foot out of the floodplain, right in the footprint of the house, and about 100 foot out. The majority of our property between the house that you see there and 157th Street, the remaining part of the property is in floodplain. And where we ended up putting the house and the way we oriented the house, we would be looking at a 350 to 400 foot driveway to access the house, plus going through the floodplain. So we're requesting a variance to the ordinance that will provide us with the access the way we proposed to build the house, the original building permit, and it will match everything in the area as it's laid out today.
Have you considered redesign of your driveway so that you only have to take one access off of May Avenue? I mean, since you're going to do a circle anyway, can't you come in and out on the same drive?
So the circle driveway in the front of the house, we've just got one driveway that goes around to the shop, and I say it's a circle, it's a half moon, so you can drive through the portico and then come back out on May without having to back up or trying to maneuver through that. It's a relatively narrow opening between the house and that detached garage there. So the point,
But isn't this a circle drive as well?
yes, ma'am, and that was not built.
So wouldn't it be possible to come in and out this way without taking a second access here?
So, the circle drive to the north of the house, there's just it basically just accesses the garage that's part of the main structure, so there's not a circle drive there. So if you come up on the north entrance into the house and park underneath that portico, without having to do a bunch of maneuvers to get turned around, the point of it was to come out, just be able to drive up to the house and then come right back out on May.
Okay. Is there anybody else here today who wants to be heard on this matter? Members of the board?
I'd move approval.
Second?
I have a motion and a second to approve case number 14325. Would you cast your votes, please? It's approved.
Thank you so much.
Item number 4, case number 14326, request of Quail Springs Mall for a variance to required 5 to 1,000 parking ratio established pursuant to approval of Community Unit Plan 21A, overlaying the C3 Community Commercial District located at 2501 West Memorial Road.
The applicant present?
Madam Chairman, members of the board, Blaine Nice, 100 North Broadway, Oklahoma City, for the applicant. This is
Wait just a minute, please.
Madam Chairman, Mr. Nice is my law partner, and so I am going to recuse myself.
Okay, we'll let you do that. Go ahead, please, I'm sorry.
This is an application by the Quail Springs Mall. There's been a special use permit for an outdoor fitness facility that's been recommended for approval by the Planning Commission. That's being forwarded to the City Council. But as part of that, the existing Macy's building is going to be raised, and this outdoor fitness, the proposed use of indoor and outdoor fitness, when you start looking at the parking requirements of this existing CUP, which is 5 per 1,000 square feet, which that CUP is 36 years old, I think now. CUPs no longer exist in the code. And if you apply the existing requirements, you don't meet those 5 per 1,000. And as I understand it, even a fitness center is kind of a use that you would review the parking requirements on a per-use basis. And we're asking for a variance to 4 per 1,000 square feet. As I understand it, that's close to what it probably would be if you average that. The ordinance is required now, but it's application of the existing CUP requirements, 5 to 1,000, in this instance creates an unnecessary hardship. The property is obviously peculiar because of all the mixed uses. Granting this variance does not cause a detriment to the surrounding property owners, and it's the minimum required to alleviate the problem. I don't think we'll ever even come to need 4 per 1,000, and I think this is a reasonable request, and we'd ask that you approve it.
Isn't parking for this, don't you have cross-access to the?
Yes, there's cross-access agreements, and they will, as part of the building process with the fitness center, they're required to have those in place. And so that's what staff and I have talked about. I mean, we believe, I think if you really started averaging these, I think that we would perhaps, there's more parking than this. It's just, you look at the mixed uses and they do an average, and so I think they came in when they looked at the fitness center, it's somewhere in the middle of like 4.5 to 1,000. We're asking for 4 just to be comfortable that we don't have any issues. But the parking's never full out there. I don't think it's ever going to be full. And like I said, with the fitness use, as I understand it, they look at that on an individual basis anyway, and it's kind of a guesstimate when you talk to the staff about how they figure that number anyway, to some extent.
But in one sense, I mean, with the shared parking, you have access to virtually unlimited
Yeah,
parking.
what they do is they add all these uses up, and JJ can correct me, right, and they come up with an average. Well, they add all the uses together, and they come up with an average, and you look at the predominant use, and even in this, in the fitness center, they're going to have some other uses like child care or some other things, so it's really hard to come up with a hard and fast number. It's a little bit guesstimate, but I think that, quite frankly, the 4 per 1,000 square feet is close to what the code would require at this time anyway, so I think it's consistent with what the code would require.
Is there anybody else here today that wants to be heard on this matter? Members of the board?
I just went out just yesterday, and there is plenty of parking out there. And that's taking over the Macy's area, correct? After the closing. Anyway, and I think it would be, it says the fitness center doesn't normally even have a specific parking requirement also, so I have no problem with this effort.
I'll make a motion to approve the application.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve case number 14326. Would you cast your votes, please? It is approved.
Thank you. Ms. Lewis, very nice to see you.
Item number 5, case number 14327, request of Anthony Driscoll for a variance to the maximum display area for attached accessory sign in the DBD Downtown Business District located at 100 West Reno.
Good afternoon. I'm Tom Anderson with the City Manager's Office. I'm here for the applicant, and I have with me Abby Morgan, who is representing the Oklahoma City Thunder. What we are requesting is replacement of accessory signs which serve as building identification signage. There's one on the north side, one on the south-southeast side, and one at the relatively new southwest entrance. The entity that has the naming rights, Chesapeake Energy, has changed their logo. So we would like to remove the existing signs and replace them with signage that's consistent with the rollout of their new logo. But it will be a building identification signage representing the facility as its designated official name, Chesapeake Energy Arena.
Is there anybody else here today that wants to be heard on this matter? Members of the board?
You just got an approval recommendation from Downtown Design this morning, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
I'll make a motion to approve the application.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve item number 14327. Would you cast your votes, please? It's approved.
Thank you very much.
Item number 6, case number 14328, request of Braxton Development for a variance to the maximum display area for a neighborhood identification sign located in a street median in the R1 Single Family Residential District located at 13503 West Reno Avenue.
David Box, 522 Colcord Drive, here on behalf of the applicant. Also with me is Kendall Dillon, who serves as the civil engineer for this project. What we are asking for is a variance to the maximum surface display. This is a scenario where the code, rather than viewing just where you see Braxton as the signage, it's the entirety of this which is the surface display. So what you're allowed is only 18 square feet. Where you see Braxton is only 13 square feet. So technically we're under that, and I guess, Ms. Powers, you made the comment earlier that gentleman was lost when he mentioned pole. So in theory, we could put a little pole there and still be under the square footage allowed. So our preference would be to have a sign that was attractive with stone and brick and properly display the addition name. Now, the concern with any of these is visibility. 4 feet is what you're allowed in terms of height. That's what we are. And I have this diagram to show you how far back we're set from the center line, and we're over 50 feet away. So we see no issue with any sort of visibility or sight distance problem. So we would ask for your approval and be happy to answer any questions.
I have a question about this, but it's really a question to staff. Why do we go for the whole thing instead of just for the part of it that I would think of as a sign? I mean, is it just because we want to look at them? Is that it?
Yeah, I think we've always calculated the entire area of the structure. A sign is defined by something that's designed to attract attention. So the ornamentation is considered attention attracting, and without doing that, you could find we could meet the sign size requirement and have a huge wall.
We saw that one time. There was a neighborhood who had, I don't remember what the square footage was, but it was massive, the amount of stuff they'd put around it, and it did impede the sight and the visibility, and so I think if you're not looking at them, they get away from you. But then we see ones like this all the time where, they're clearly trying to make it attractive and not appear as a sign, but rather an element of the interest of the neighborhood, and to me, that's clearly not what the code was trying to protect against. It's that alternative of the example we saw that was just, it was egregious. So.
We only bring the reasonable ones before the board, not the egregious.
We know that not to be true.
Okay. Is there anybody else here today who wishes to be heard on this matter? Members of the board?
I move approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve case number 14328. Would you cast your votes, please? It is
Thank you.
approved. Item number 7 has been continued. So I see that we have guests. Did you have something that you wanted to share with us today? On such a pretty day? Okay. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. Please cast your votes. And we're adjourned.